Good Sunday morning, everybody, and happy Easter. Thank you so much for watching Beyond the Headlines. Building a bond to pass a bond, easier said than done. As the bond election nears, the city's campaign is in full swing, hoping one of several lasting messages breaks through. Among them, telling the public, focus on the facts, not the drama. Or another one, vote on facts, not fear. But some say the facts themselves are up for debate. On the eve of early voting, the city is banking on its months of outreach to make an impact, from informational sessions around town to social media clips to talking points. The city hopes it's given voters everything they need to break down the ballot. And the ballot is where voters will see 4 different bond proposals with a hefty price tag of $471 million or $500 million. The projects they're hoping to fund with that are labeled as public safety, public health, street upgrades, and senior housing, all at different costs. But not everyone sold on the proposals. In response, the city of Laredo has been taking over their social media with a series of messaging moves, including these myths versus facts posts. Another example is the city's Factual Friday campaign, where they post a message urging the community to speak up and not be silenced, or addressing common questions like what the bond actually does. Well, that's where we begin today's discussion. And joining us for today's discussion, 2 very special guests, former City Council member and attorney George Altgeld and former City of Laredo Mayor Pete Saenz. They're joined by KGNS General Manager Luis Villarreal. Good morning, General. Boy, do we have...
General Boy?
I know.
General
Boy. Gentlemen. I was going to say, boy, do we have a whole lot to talk about. I mean, this is a loaded conversation, and we have to squeeze it all into 30 minutes. Oof. So that's going to be a tough one because there is a lot to talk about. I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll defer to the mayor.
Our mayor.
Well, thank you so much again for the invitation. George, good to see you again.
I'm glad to be here. And
you guys served together for 6 years.
6 years in council.
Okay, 6 years on
and
city council.
And he was a good ally for me. We just had 3 or 4 that kind of agreed on issues. But irrespective of that, thank you again. I guess my purpose, the way I kind of see myself here today, is basically to present various objectives, ways of looking at the bond, referendums that are before us.
Right.
And by the way, of course, voting starts Tuesday to the following Tuesday, and then May 3rd, I think, is the actual election.
Let me ask you, Mayor, did you, in your time as mayor, did you pass a bond?
No,
you didn't do any bonds in you all's time.
Yeah, referendums or propositions, but we did have that one situation with the downtown area, the
convention center.
Yeah, but that failed, and it was primarily revenue bonds, I think.
Correct. Yeah, some small certificates of obligation that we would pass that were mostly done year after year for discretionary fund projects. Dog parks and little, speed bumps and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Never a big bond like the one that's currently being proposed. And to cut to the quick, I mean, the city's basically saying, hey, trust us. We're with the government, and trust us, even though there was no meaningful citizen input, even though we really have been historically irresponsible with your money. Trust us, even though we gave ourselves a $20,000 pay raise, and trust us, even though there's zero money in this bond for a secondary water source. And I find it very difficult to continue to extend this big blank check to the city of Laredo when they really haven't proven themselves. I mean, even if you just look at their, the messaging you made reference to, claim, Factual Friday, and one of those was like, claim 1, $100 million equals a huge tax hike, and it says the tax impact is small,
negligible.
But when you run the data, it's in fact not small. The average home is about $212,000 in Laredo, and they'll pay on average about $200 a year, give or take, on the first year. But as you extrapolate that over the increment by which that appraised value grows over 20 to 30 years, and is the bond 20 or 30 years?
I'm hearing 20 years.
Okay, but then you hear 30.
Plus, right?
But when you
let me visit with.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I had a chance to visit with Noé Hinojosa, who's the bond guru, I guess, for the city of Laredo and other entities as well. And I asked him how, sure, it's a hefty amount. It's $417 million, more or less. And I told him, is it to the point that we can't deviate from that? Do we have flexibility in the event that the economy takes a downturn because of this tariff situation and possibly other measures that may, impact local economy? And he told me basically it's very flexible. We can blend in these projects, and it doesn't have to be necessarily just this. I mean, there's other mechanisms, as you know, George, TERSs, other things, but of course that would involve developers and it gets a little more complicated. But the point I'm trying to make here is yes, it's another tool. Granted, it's a hefty tool in our, economic toolbox that the city would have. But I think it's good to explore that as well. And if in the event there's flexibility, which I'm told that there is, via choosing and electing certain projects to go forward before others, or stopping them and postponing them for a while, there's no way. Hosa told me basically there's. We don't even have to go and seek these bonds if things really turn south, so to speak. Or
if they turn up, if somehow magically the Laredo economy starts rebooming itself, we would not have to do that. But
this is where council comes in too. I think council can measure this. They can further strategize and see if, in fact, if it does pass, which I'm asking that the citizenry or the voters, I guess, to truly consider this, because the needs are there. Personally speaking, the needs are there. We've been waiting for some of these things.
I don't think you can argue that the needs are there. I don't think anybody is going to say that the needs aren't there. I think there are two concerns, and from my perspective, there are two concerns that I think are important to mention.
I could argue that some of those needs are not there, but
some of them are. I mean, I don't know that.
There's a lot of wants in that bond package.
No, and I agree with you too, George.
$600 a square foot for a brand new Taj Mahal grade police headquarters. Okay. Like, come on.
All right. So, but granted, let's just say that some of them are needed. Some of them, maybe some wants. So
but that could be further scrutinized by council.
First, you should take away the wants and just keep the needs. That's the first thing. But at some point, we're going to have to stop playing well, you've never done things right. I mean, how long are we going to keep holding new administrations at fault for things that have been done by other administrations?
There's been a lot of can kicking down the road historically.
At some point, you're going to have to pick it up.
Entity, but when you come back to, just think about it. That claim one that there's not going to be a huge tax hike. The average home over the course of 30 years is going to pay $11,000 in taxes over the course of 30 years.
Because of how much the value of properties are trending and projected to go up between now and 20 years
from now. But the other side is, what
9%.
Service are we getting? What are we getting for that?
What are we getting for that?
Well, we're going to pave a bunch of streets on one of these props, right? Streets that last on average 7 years. So you're going to borrow 20 to...
This is 900 miles of street. That's a lot of street. That's basically all Laredo, I think.
When we've already done We've already done a street study that says you should prioritize these streets first, and we've already put dollar amounts to those streets. But instead of programming those streets, right now we're saying, hey, all of a sudden it's an emergency, we have to borrow this amount of money. We can't even fix those streets for that amount of money with the manpower that we have right now. And by the way, all these little wading off into the weeds conversations, the city hasn't taken the time to show their work. I think that's the really big problem here. Is when you look at their marketing stuff. They're glossy, they're pretty slides. It's nothing like the city of San Antonio's 38-page line item by line item, what you're getting in each proposition and what plans and what the economic impact is to be fixed. Right now we're just being, hey, it's like Dr. Evil and Austin Powers. It's $417 million. Like, really? Like, really? That's the best you got, Joe Neb?
So going back to Neb, because the second thing that I wanted to ask is, there was a comment made by the city administration that in the event that this bond won't pass, that we will have to look at other ways of doing it, like maybe do things more efficiently in the city and save some money. And then okay, so why aren't we doing that now is my question, as opposed to This is like saying, you know what, let's see if we can get this money, that way we don't have to fix our operational problems. But if it doesn't pass, then we'll start looking at fixing some of our inefficiencies in the government. That to me is the biggest question here, is you don't start asking for money
until afterwards.
and then look for ways of saving. You start by saving money first, and then, okay, now I'm missing this. This is what I really need. Maybe you can make a better case for requesting those funds.
And they haven't really tightened the belt on much of anything. Now, they've threatened to tighten the belt. Joe Nebb wrote a letter to the Laredo Economic Development Corporation saying, hey, we give you guys a $500,000 a year.
You need to vote for this.
And I haven't heard you say much about your support for this, and your leadership is important now more than ever. And if you don't take a position on it, I think we're going to have to cut your budget. So I really hope to hear from you, Mr. Stedman, sooner than later, signed by Joe Nebb. And so, I mean, why is so much strong-arming and leverage? Like, who are the winners in this bond being passed, right?
Well, who are they?
Well, if I own land that's going to be purchased to build this $15 million training center, if I'm a construction company, I'm a big winner, for sure. Like, this is an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Anybody, architects, builders, contractors.
But aren't they part of the community as well? Those people are professionals. I mean, we want
somebody's
more for
going to
them.
do the job.
Absolutely.
But those are the winners. Those are the winners. And I think we have
and also the people that service, and we'll have a more adequate, I think, in the police department, although we're a very safe city, and we'll have more personnel. The service response times will be quicker. You know, there's the other side to it, too. You know, the fire department as well. We need
the fire department and public safety are things that I think are difficult to argue, because there are things that we don't see, we don't think about until your house is on fire and you hope that there was a fire station
or you
close
get
enough,
a heart attack and then
you need an ambulance to be there. And I think those are things that you really need to consider, and you can't just throw that into with everything else.
But the point I'm trying to make to George as well, and I think your points are well taken too, George. For example, I heard that discussion that you had with some other entity about Pinto Valle. I mean, that's a very fair question. You know, why go out there and buy land when, in fact, the city already owns about over 200 acres, and that's very valid. And I think there's room here. If some way, somehow, that doesn't work out, then as a last resort, we go out there and buy property. Yeah. So it's just alternatives. Obviously, this bond is more convenient for management, to be honest with you.
Well, because it gives them the money up front. So it's less stress for them because they know that they're going to have a bank account.
And why are we programming these things in small bites year by year? We have a capital improvement fund. We don't put any money into it because we take all the excesses from the bridge fund to give it away to the fire union and the police union. And so we haven't been saving for the rainy day. And now what we're telling the taxpayers is, hey, we haven't been saving for a rainy day, but you know what? This one's on you. Again? Really?
Well, that's what goes to efficiencies, and I think we're
going to talk about efficiencies in just a little bit. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, the Department of Laredo efficiency, could that be possible? Well, the city manager takes the first step with a new efficiency study, but should that effort have been done before asking the citizens to vote on a $500 million bond? We've got that debate coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Well, earlier this month, the city manager addressed the need to make our nickels and dimes work a little harder. That comes amid growing economic pressures, including national federal cuts, local tariff impacts, and the potential passage of the city's revenue bond that could bring higher prices. The city manager shares part of the plan.
The idea of the efficiency study is take care of those things that are the most important, the highest priority items, the things that are less priority. Let's look at other ways to do those types of services. And we have a lot of great partners out there within the nonprofits and everything. So there may be services that the city is providing that there may be an organization or another entity that can do that service better. One of the things I know that the city is looking at as well too is that if we have very similar services being provided by one or two departments, we're going to consolidate those and reduce the overall impact and the cost of that service.
And that's where we're going to continue our conversation. You know, what he says sounds good, but shouldn't that have been done before you go out and ask the citizens for $500 million?
That looks great on paper, but, you know, yeah, too little, too late. I mean, he's been here, what now, 2 years? The honeymoon phase is come and gone. You know, thanks, but, you know, actions, not words. And going back to the Sunday Morning Times article where Chief Hurd goes on the record and says, hey, we have one of the best ratings in the United States by way of like keeping fires down and response times. So the data already shows us as doing really, really well. You mentioned we're one of the safest cities in the United States. I mean, how does building another police station make us safer? And to coin the term, public safety. Well, yeah, everybody's for public safety, but
administration is not public safety.
No, it's boots on the ground. That's public safety. Right. Lifting people up out of poverty, that's public safety. And the programs that they are showing that they want to put in place for $500 million don't do anything to further those ends.
But we're assuming also, too, that the numbers will stay the same, the population size, numbers. We're growing. We've been growing every year. Every year I think we contribute $13.5 million, to the overall growth of the city. So it stands to reason that we need more personnel, more firehouses, and police station. So we have to go with the times, and we have to prepare. Now, as far as the efficiency, as to the city manager, there's always room for efficiency. You and I fought those battles as well, George, when we were there. And in all fairness, I mean, it's always
a bureaucracy, Mayor.
No, but it's got to go beyond that.
I understand that, but there is a huge efficiency in front of us that we have never really considered, and the merging of city and county entities is something that has been
We're going to run down that rabbit trail.
Well, Miami-Dade has it.
Yeah,
we cannot be more isolated as a geographical region. We are distinct in many ways, sort of like El Paso.
There are no bad arguments against that.
And you're talking about government efficiency?
Yeah.
That's huge.
But you're talking about politicos who are going to give up their little power.
Correct.
And I mean, you're 100% correct. It should be done. That should be put on a referendum.
That should be on a referendum.
Not this nonsense.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to touch base that if you look at the Webb County Appraisal District's records for 2023, 2024, we added $1 billion. Well, they added. Vanessa Perez, who sits on there, added $1 billion of inventory on just residential property alone. Never mind commercial property, never mind personal property. And so when you look through the tax impact that this bond is going to have to the average homeowner, just saying that alone is disingenuous. What does it mean to the average business owner?
Yeah.
Because we're the
warehouses.
ones putting people to work. We're the ones that are going to be paying for this thing, and they haven't provided us that data. And when you look at San Antonio and you look at Round Rock and you look at other major municipalities, they're very transparent. They're showing the taxpayers what that data is, and I feel like they're saying trust us.
Yeah.
Even though they don't have a proven track record.
Well, and you're talking about the amount of money that's going to come forward through the appraisal district and the values of the property. There's going to be so much more money also based on the growth that is currently going on right now north of Laredo.
And I have to correct myself. The $13.5 billion annually that is contributed toward growth, every year here in Laredo, Texas, which is sizable.
Right. So that growth, that money, they're already going to get a whole lot more money based off the tax rolls. So are they not taking that into consideration before they ask everybody to, increase their property taxes?
Well, obviously it's an option, and it's really up to the people too. But I figure that there's still room for council. Maybe they should have done their homework a little harder.
This is in front of the voters now. We're going to have to vote on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but council still has an opportunity to hold it back, to further review based on these discussions, the points that you all are bringing out as well.
So you're saying that even if the bond, if it's pass,
and it may
that
happen.
there's still some oversight that council can exercise and say, okay, wait a second, they said yes, but we're not going to?
Yeah.
Or
keep in mind too, George, remember that proposition referendum that we did with the water park? That's been over 10 years. and it hasn't been done. So these things are still manageable. I mean, you can, cut them back or put them forward or
I think
whatever.
fundamentally, though, the question is, do you really trust your mayor and your city council? And if the answer is yes, well, then go ahead.
I'm sorry to disagree. Do we trust the administration?
Well, remember, your administration is only as good as the elected officials that are running the show. And as much as we would like to scapegoat Joe Nebb and Steve Landine, the reality is they're responding to 9 people at any one given moment. And so I think that covers it. But
So then the question goes, back to the dream of, potentially merging the things.
Yeah. But let's put it in context too. Based on what we had before, George, and what we have now, for me, it's a significant improvement. Maybe it's not, the perfect team there yet, but in my
Somebody
eyes,
has to always push, and
Right.
somebody has to always call them. And
And-
there are people and organizations that need to be out there keeping an eye on and trying and questioning and stuff. I
basically,
think
City
that's a
Council, this is
necessity.
why it's so important that we vote people that have these ideas and thoughts that we're talking about, vote them into power, into office. But as far as improvements, I think this administration, in my eyes, has improved compared to what we had. They don't have.
So
yeah, it was back when the West was wild.
So we're making progress.
Little progress. A little bit of
Are you
progress.
fundamentally in support of the bond in general?
I am.
in
I
general?
think, and I say that simply because there's still room. It can be massaged further, and especially, hopefully people listen to these conversations, and these are all valid points that y'all are bringing out. Council has an opportunity now to say, you know what, let's hold back a little bit. Let's present more evidence. Why do we need a purchase land when we have
And
some
maybe
other
give
land?
the
I don't know
opportunity
when
to
governments
tighten their belt.
I've never seen a scenario where governments restrain themselves and don't go. I know you and I did when we were there, and we
But
had some
that's
colleagues.
But
that-
in general,
that's probably the
But
best we could
generally,
do,
it is
given
tax,
that it's government.
It's tax and it's spend, and that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I would like to note, by contrast, the city of San Antonio, they passed a 2022-27 bond, and A, B, C, D, E at the bottom was their public safety initiatives, and it started off with animal control, and it started off with a big, healthy amount of bond money for health-related issues. And then way at the bottom were fire stations and improvements to these physical places, right? And their numbers were pretty interesting. It was $12.5 million to build a new fire station 33, and another $12.5 to build another fire station. And so by comparison, we want to build 3 fire stations for $50 million. And we're in Laredo, right? And they're in San Antonio. And one would think that, well, real estate would be in more demand and more expensive over there. But for whatever reason, it's already really inflated down here. And how do you end up with just around $43 million and another $6 million for land? Like, where are they pulling these numbers from? I don't know.
I asked that question and to Noé Hinojosa, and basically it's as close as I can get it. Once they actually study that, get the architects, they can fine tune that and get the more realistic numbers. So it's a más o menos.
It sounds like inflated numbers, though.
Well, they usually,
I mean, if
you
they
know,
want
tend
to
to go.
be más o menos.
Yeah,
I mean, they're asking
You
for
gotta give
this
yourself
much,
some wiggle
but
room.
And with
anyway,
respect
okay.
to Noé,
Yeah.
he's our bond guy. He's the city's bond guy, and Noé never met a bond he didn't like, right? Like, he's there to sell you a bond, whether you need it or not.
Yeah, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. We are short of time. We're just going to do some closing remarks. Mayor, parting words.
Again, thank you for the invitation. I invite the people to go vote, and I think you have the dates. It's the 22nd through the 29th,
That's
early
right.
voting. And of course, May the 3rd is the actual voting day. I think you have enough information, and if not, go to the city of Laredo, desk or whatever. They've got so many sources now, and inform yourselves too. And I personally feel they're needed, and I think we should vote in favor of these
George?
proposition.
I'd say go to the city's dumpster fire and pull out this burning piece of you-know-what, and you'll see claim number 3, right? It says, more debt equals more taxes, and then they say, fact. Not all debt is created equal. I mean, how is that even a response? And, you know, if you look at the debt, they're going to buy a 5-year patrol unit, right? A squad car that'll last.
We're going to pay for it for 20.
But we're going to finance it for 20.
Yep.
And we're going to do the same thing with a 7-year
And I also spoke to
street.
Noe, and he said, no, we can structure it for 5 or 7 years at the most.
And pay the principal
Okey
down.
doke.
And do the
Okay, we
interest.
just want to wish everybody a happy Easter. Go out and vote. April 22nd through 29th is early voting. Election day is Saturday, May 3rd. Have a fantastic Easter.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.